The teacher in me loves this. Everybody's sitting up nicely and looking at toward the front. I love it. Now you have to be naughty at some point during the day, right? So good morning. I am Norma Hafenstein. I'm the Daniel L. Ritchie Endowed Chair in Gifted Education. And it is my distinct pleasure to welcome each of you here to Dabrowski Congress 2022. I'd like to extend a welcome on behalf of Morgridge College of Education and the University of Denver, and we are delighted to be serving as host to this event and pleased to have you, whether you are here in person or virtually, as there are twice as many of you online as there are with us right now. So the wonders of technology, so thank you. We have a few things to do this morning, but first of all, I wanted to just share a couple of things quickly. As you know, here we are in the Morgridge College of Education. I'd like to acknowledge our sponsor, Gifted Unlimited. Molly, yes, thank you for being here. So a reminder, as many of you know already, we have a Zoom Encore on Thursday. Excellent presentations, multiple proposals. So we're pleased to be able to offer the Zoom Encore on Thursday online. There'll be certificates for participants available for all of you, and the recordings will be shared a little bit later in August. This is our agenda for today, and you have your agenda printed out with you as well already. And we look forward to wonderful times together, and I'll be talking about it a little bit more as we go through the day. So our agenda is filled with extraordinary presentations, including special keynotes. Chris Wells, Frank Falk, Sheila Gallagher, and Melissa Bernstein. Multiple individual and shared sessions, and as I've just mentioned, even that virtual encore. We have attendees in person from California. You want to wave your hands, California? Illinois, want to wave your hands, Illinois? Kentucky, Virginia. I know we have someone here from Virginia. I know we do. And obviously Colorado. Any other states? Connecticut, Wisconsin, Florida, Texas, DC. I was close with Virginia. Thank you. And I'd like to extend a special welcome to Dominic Chanowski from Poland. So welcome, Dominic. Thank you for being here. I'd also like to acknowledge that this Congress wouldn't be possible without the efforts of several. And I'd like to ask each of you to share with me in thanking Chris Wells for her commitment, vision, and review of proposals. And I can't begin to say enough thanks to Joy Lynn, whose talent, ability, commitment have made today a reality. So thank you, Joy. And just so that you all know, toward the end of the week, we need to be sending Joy positive thoughts. She'll be on a beach in Hawaii getting them. So as we begin our Congress today, the University of Denver asks that we share in a land acknowledgement. Is anyone willing to read this, at least the first paragraph for us? Read out loud. Thank you. Go ahead. Thank you. Another volunteer? Thank you very much. So, as we begin today, I'd like each of you to pause for a moment and reflect. I'd like you to think back to that time, maybe it was last year, or a couple of years ago, or several years ago. For some, it may have been decades. For some, it may have been over half a century. When did you first learn about Dabrowski? How did you first learn about Dabrowski? From whom did you first learn about Dabrowski? What were your initial reactions? Why did this theory resonate? How did you feel upon gaining this knowledge, this perspective? Personally, I vividly remember that feeling, and it was a feeling of transformation. Transformation to acknowledgement, to hope, to inspiration. I have heard again and again of the power of this theory, the power of this work, and the power of that related impact. So if the person from whom you first learned about the theory is here, take a minute and just acknowledge that person and say, thank you. Thank you, my friend Linda. So I wish for each of you today, over the next days, new knowledge, familiar concepts, and challenging dialogues. I wish for each of you the strength gained through collegial conversations and shared perspectives. And I wish for each of you that feeling of transformation, that power of this theory and the work and the related impacts. Welcome. Enjoy being together. For those of you here in person, we look forward to dinner this evening. We look forward to time and dialogue, the development of new knowledge, challenging and shared perspectives, and perhaps even that window of transformation. So as we begin our day, I would like to tell a story about our next speaker, Michele Kane. I introduced Michele, Professor Emeritus Dabrowski expert and exceptional human. Michele and I were sitting on a patio on a very, very hot day. There seems to be a theme here in Nashville. And we had a conversation about where could a Dabrowski Congress be held? Where might it be held? So with Michele's inspiration, here we are today. And it is my pleasure to introduce Michele Kane.
Thank you so much, Norma. I appreciate that. It's always an interesting thing when dreams become reality, right? I mean, sometimes dreams do come true, so I'm happy to be here and share with you all of this history of Dabrowski, which was pretty fun for me to go back and revisit. So this is our 15th International Congress. I can hardly believe it. And so it's my joy to welcome you to Denver and to this Congress. There have been two series of conferences and congresses. So the first one started in 1970, and Linda told me this morning that she was there, and Frank would. Oh, 1980. Okay, I'm sorry, excuse me. 1970, no way. That was the one that really kicked everything off, and this was at the behest of Dabrowski. Dabrowski. And it was the beginning of a lot of informal series of workshops and some conferences that have also been held in Poland. So the first one was held at Laval University in Quebec, and we'll go through, there's the one that Linda was talking about. The third one that was in Miami in 1980, the fourth in Warsaw, and then the fifth in Fort Lauderdale. And so you can probably barely see that, but that was the program from the very first International Congress. And some of the people that were there were Robert Maurer. He was an APA president, and he had an interesting theory. And then Dr. Zygmunt Petrowski was there, who was a Rorschach specialist. So people were gathered from all around the world who were very prominent in psychology, and they came together to enjoy. So this is the program from the Second International Congress. Some of you have probably seen those penetrating eyes and know that this very famous poem, probably one that is most associated in terms of the poetry of Dabrowski, Be Greeted Psychoneurotics, was part of the program for the Second International Congress. The biennial conference series started when we met in Keystone in 1994, which was actually called the Dabrowski Retreat, and Linda Silverman organized that. It was at Keystone. It was a small event. And at that event, the group decided to meet every 2 years, ideally alternating between the US and Canada. So this is when the biennial conference started. So when Bill, according to Bill's information, which I confirmed with him, one of the things that he said is that that's how he decided for the second one to be named in Banff in 1996. The fourth Congress, you can see that back and forth, US, Canada, which started for a while and it kind of trickled out. But that one actually was led by two US citizens, Sharon Lind and Cheryl Ackerman, who actually organized it and brought it to Mont Tremblant in Quebec. So at the Fort Lauderdale meeting, that's when everybody decided that the two conferences should be merged together. So this is how things, if you're wondering about the nomenclature and why things are named the way they are, this is where it started. So that's where it was decided. The international meetings would be congresses, the national ones would be conferences, and the regional meetings would be workshops. So I'm not going to name all of these, but if you can take a look, you can see that there have been many in Calgary. I actually organized and hosted two of them, one in St. Charles and another one in Naperville. And we've been in Denver before, 2012, and then back to Canada, back to the US. So it didn't go back and forth exactly on track, but we'll see what happens going forward. That's for this group, to talk about later. Some of the workshops were designed and organized with Dr. Jane Pierto on the Ashland University campus, and it was hosted there for several years. Linda Silverman, Frank Falk, Michael Pichowski, and others were there, and many of the trainings were also held there. There were several other workshops under the auspices of Susan Daniels at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And then there were additional conferences in Poland. So these are some of the ones that have been held in Poland as well, 2013 and 2018. So I welcome you. Be greeted, 15th International Congress participants. Here we go, onward.